What's up guys, today I'm gonna show you a little bit how to set up a world for VRChat from Unity. First thing you're gonna want to do is go to the VRChat.net website, click download and get yourself the SDK for Windows or Mac if you're on a Mac obviously. I'm not sure if they have that, but I'm gonna just assume they do. Once you got that, you just want to drag and drop it into your assets and you're good. So let's start off with making a little bit of a flooring. I'm just going to make a quick cube. I'm going to center that out so it's in the middle of my world. That's the way I like it. And then we're going to put that on point 1. I'm going to put it down a little bit. You don't have to do this, but I just like doing it like this so it's all flat with the world. Let's change the dimensions on it a little bit. Right, so I don't really like the way it looks in white. I already made a little bit of material, but for the love of it, let's just do it the easy way. Make a little bit of material, call it floor. We're going to give it a little bit of color. We're going to make it grey instead. Why not, right? We're going to pull off reflections and why not highlights as well? Yeah, I like that better. Okay, we have a floor. First thing we're going to need to do, I'm going to go back to my assets. I already imported the SDK. You just drag and drop it in, hit import, and there it is. It has to take a little bit of loading, but there it is. We're going to go into prefabs, and then into world, and then we're going to drop in the VRC world. Drag and drop, simple as that. What I like to do is I'm going to center it out. I think the spawn position, where is that again? Spawn orientation is default. I think the default is the blue. I'm not completely sure. So let's put it over there a little bit. So we spawn looking that way. I'm pretty sure that it's like that. Might be the red. And what I also like to do, just to make sure you don't fall through the world, is pull it up just a little bit. Separate it from the floor. Remember, if you import a world or anything like that, the floor needs some kind of collider so you don't fall through it. And you make sure that is trigger is off. If that's jacked, you're still going to fall through most likely. So you want that to be off. Right now, this is an actual rigid floor you can't fall through. Right. Let's see if that actually makes sense. Let's do a quick new build and hope it doesn't fuck up. Okay, for the first time you do a new build, you're gonna have to name it. So YT tutorial. Okay. If you use a VR headset and you click that test button, it's going to launch in VR. The reason it doesn't for me is that I got this little VBS file made by Yacez and it's amazing. You can set up multiple things. You can set up if you want it to launch in VR or in non-VR, and you can set it up that if you start a new instance of test build, it will close down the previous version of test build. I'll link to you guys or tell you about it a little bit later. So alright, the spawn direction is correct like this. We now have a little plane we can walk around on. This is completely normal. We have a floor. We have a basic world. Right, let's have out of this real quick. Next thing I want to do. Maybe I want a chair. There's a prefab for that as well. You can just drop it in and sit on it. If you want to add it a little bit, let's say I don't want that leaning bit, I'm just going to disable that, and now what you'll have is a cube we can sit on. What you could even do is disable the other cube as well. You could do that, and then you've got an enter point and all of that. Don't mess with those too much, but let's just say I want the other cube. I want that to be on. I could make this a little bit different size and put it inside of another chair, for example, and then you've got a working chair, so that's cool. Let's just leave it for that right now. That's just a chair we can demonstrate in a second. Video screens, I might do another tutorial on that at some point. They're really fucked. There's avatar pedestals, those kind of explain themselves. You just put in the blueprint ID, which you can get from your manage uploaded content. I'm not going to show you mine because you can copy my IDs and shit, so yeah, that's not happening. But those kind of show themselves the way. They're all in prefabs. Okay, we've got that. Next thing we want to do. What do we want to do in this world? What do we want to do? We have a plane. I like this. Okay, we are going to make an object. We're going to make a pickup object. Okay, so you can just make a cube for the sake of this tutorial, but let's just also go a little bit advanced because you don't want to make cubes later on. So in props already dropped in an FBX model. Let me just delete these so you can see it's just drag and drop. I have an FBX model. I'm going to drag that in. Boom. We have an FBX model. That's a beer bottle. I modeled that in Cinema 4D and saved it as an FBX. That's all I had to do for that. The scale of it, I don't like it, so I'm going to change the scale for you a little bit. We're going to go 0.3 for now. Oops, that's 3. We need 0.3. There we go. Okay, I'm going to drag it up a little bit. Okay, we have a beer bottle. Now, right now, it's just in the world and it's going to sit here and float and do nothing. It's just an object sitting here. So what we want to do for those, we want to add, let's see, we want a pickup, VRC pickup. That adds a rigid body and the script itself. And we want a sink, an object sink to be precise. And we also want a collider. Now, if you're using a cube, you're going to use a box collider. If you're using some kind of capsule thing, you're going to use a capsule collider. If you use a sphere, use a sphere collider. They usually do that themselves. But since a beer bottle isn't exactly one of those shapes, it needs to sit on its ass, so it can't be a capsule because those have round edges. It's not a box because it needs to roll. So I have no other way about it than going with a mesh collider. The reason you don't always want to go with mesh colliders is because they take more computing power. So many mesh colliding objects that can roll about means lower FPS if you're unlucky. For this, I'm going to have to check the convex. And you could possibly inflate the mesh if your liking is like that, but I'm not really going to do that. Now, don't forget, for the mesh, you actually need to select the mesh of the beer bottle, which is right here. If I click that little circle, bam. Right, so let's say, again, if I inflated that, it's going to be bigger. But I don't want to inflate it, I just want it to be the size it is. Okay, so right now we have a beer bottle with a rigid body, with a mesh collider, with a VRC pickup script, and the object sync script. That should already be the basics of it, okay? You, again, don't want this to be a trigger, by the way. It's off by default, but that's okay. You can change the use text. Let's say pick up beer. So when I hover my mouse over it, it's going to say pick up beer. What else do we need to do? Not much, really. I think that's basically it. Oh yeah, collision detection. If you set that to continuous, it's also a little bit more CPU intensive, more computing power, but it does make it more in sync with others. So let's go ahead and try that out real quick, see if that works. Now, if you can see this, as soon as it starts building and it's done, it's got to close down this instance and it's going to launch a new one. Thank you, Surya, you're a legend. I'll show you where to download that later on once again. Loading, loading, loading. Okay, here we go. So, first thing I want to test, does it pick up? It does! Can I throw it? I can! And it works. Let's see if we can roll it a little bit. There you go. That looks fine by me. Okay, the pedestal thing, we're sitting down. Nice. That works as well. Okay, so we have a chair that works, we have a throwing bottle that works. What's next, you ask? Let's do a little bit of object animation. Why not? I'm going to make a quick folder and name it Animation. Go into that folder for now. Let's go and animate a cube. Let's get this one out of the way for a little bit. Out of the center. Thank you. We're going to make a new cube. Okay. Let's make it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to make another cube, which is going to be the trigger. I'm going to keep this right here. Put that up a little bit. Okay, I like it. Okay, so we're going to name this Animated Object, just for the sake of the tutorial, and we're going to name this one the trigger, so we know what we're doing. Okay, first of all, let's start making the animation. I'm going to click this boy. If you don't have your animation window thing, it should be underneath window animation. That loads it up for you. I just dragged it down up in here. You want to select in your hierarchy the object you're going to animate and then hit create. And then you're going to name your first one, and let's name that the idle. Let's start with the idle. That means the stationary position for my animation. I'm going to add a property. You can also just drag it, by the way, but I'm just going to do this because I find that easier. It's going to make 2 keys. I'm going to delete the secondary. This is our first key. Okay. Right now it's red. That means it's recording the animation. I don't want to move it around right now because this is supposed to be an idle. It should just stay still. I'm just going to Control C. After clicking that, go to the very first keyframe we can get and add another key by Control V, by pasting it. So that's stood still. no movement whatsoever. I'm going to stop recording for now. And I'm going to check back in my project. And now I have an animation controller and an idle. This is the actual animation. I'll get into this one later. The first animation you make makes the controller. Keep that in mind. Going back into the animator, make sure this is still selected. If it's not, it's going to look a little bit weird, like it's going to be gone, for example. So let's go back, select that cube. Right down here, we can hit that void idle, the first thing we named it, and we're going to create a new clip. And we're going to call that move. Okay. Alright, again, let's just go ahead and add position. Okay, and I'm going to delete that frame again. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Basically at 1, that's about a second. 1, then .0. Okay, so I'm gonna see, let's say after 1 second, I'm gonna drag my timeline there. I want it to be over here. Now I can do the two things. I can just change the transform values, or I can just drag it, and that's fine by me. As soon as I start dragging it, you can see it makes extra keys. Let's say that after another second, so at second 2, I want it to move that way. So on the z-axis. There we go, it makes another key. Let's hit play right here, see what happens. Moves right, moves back. Okay, that was really simple. This is now an animation. Let's stop that. I'm going to stop recording, go back into my project, and you can see there is a new animation called move. Okay, so next thing I want is I want it to also idle once it reaches this position. Okay, so I'm going to select that key and Control-C it, copy it. Once again, make a new clip, and we're going to call that idle moved. Okay. It's all empty now, and it's back in its original position. It's not back here, but it's where it started in the first place, on the first idle. So what I'm going to do is Control-V, put that paste in there from earlier. Now it's on that position again. So we're going to go to the first one, again, just like the first idle, make another key. That's now an idle that's staying still. It's red again, so I'm going to stop recording that. And if I hit that, you can see it starts recording again, but okay, that should be it. We've now got 3 animations. Next up, I'm going to double click that, and it's going to open up in an Animator. Once you open it, it's most likely already added all your animations. Delete them. Just do it, because usually they fuck up for some reason. We couldn't explain why, but it does that. Siri, no, shut up. We're going to click parameters, we're going to click the plus, and we're going to click bool, and we're going to name this something. Animation 1. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and copy paste that, because we're going to need it later. Okay, so first off, I'm going to drag in the idle. You can move around holding that middle mouse if you didn't know anything about the animator yet. Then we're going to drop in, let's see, the move. And then we're going to drag in the moved. Drag in, you dick. Okay. So what we want to do is it to go from idle, make transition, to move. From move, we also want to make it stop. Make transition, idle moved, so it's going to stop at that idle animation. And we want to loop it back, just to make the loop complete. Make transition to idle. So right click, make transition, that's all you do. On the first transition, there's a little arrow there, I'm going to click it. There's something called conditions. Hit the plus. It's already adding the bool I entered here, animation 1, and I want that to be on true, which it is automatically. For the second one, add a condition again, that's good. But I want this one to be on false. I want it to not move to the idle moved, or not move after the idle moved. So set that to false, and on this one also add the condition, set it to false. So from idle to animation is true. From animation to the second idle is false, and then from the second idle to the first idle is also false. Okay, that's it. That's your animator component. Yeah. That's literally it. Okay, so next thing we want to keep in mind, I'm going to back to scene here. I'm going to check my animations, and idle should be on loop. This is good. Idle moved is on loop. That's good. That's normal. That's stock. But on the move, I don't want it to loop. I want it to just play once. I'm going to disable loop on that one. Next thing we're going to need, now that the entire animation is set up and it's all added in an animator component, it automatically drags in your animator controller right here that you made on the object that you were animating. That's pretty good. You don't need to change anything about that. This is all done for. Now we want to set up a trigger. So I'm going to go to the queue I already named the trigger. I'm going to add a component, and we're going to look for trigger. VRC trigger. VRChat trigger is literally like the basics of 101 scripting. First thing I want to do is, what should it do? On interact, I'm going to add that. I want it to animation bool, because we just made the bool, remembering parameter. And I want it to refer to the animated object we just made. Animated object, animator. Okay, so basic scripting 101. On interact, animation bool, the animated object right here. Next thing we're going to do is remember that parameter we filled in. I'm going to paste that in here. Animation 1. Once again, from the animation controller, we made a bool, animation 1. I copy that, and we need to put that inside the variable for the trigger. Also, the operation should be true. So, or that or toggle, doesn't really matter. Let's just go with true for now. Toggle's self-explanatory, something different than true. That means on and off on the same trigger. Okay, so we have a little bit of a trigger. This should basically already do the trick. Let's find out real quick. Test. I might have fucked something up. Let's find out. Right, so this is a trigger. It's now glowing. I'm going to click it, and it's moving. Right. Now if I click it again, nothing's going to happen because it's right there. But that moved. That's great. That worked. Let's see. If I put that on toggle, I'm going to explain something else that's going to do and how you can fix that. I'll explain it, but I'm not going to show you. I'm just going to explain how you can fix that a little bit. Let's build it again. Test. Let's go. Okay, just to explain to you, what it's going to do is going to move right, then back, and it's going to snap back to this position in a straight line, not in the animation we did, because the animation is only going one way. Demonstration. Nope, going to click it again, and it's snapping back, like I said. So once again, the first time I click it, it moves the way I intended it to. Second time I click it, it snaps back to the first idle. Why is it doing that? Because we didn't make an animation in between the second idle and the first idle. So remember that transition which is set to false? Let's say I want another animation to have it go, let's say it's right there, to go left and then back again. I would have to make that animation too and put that in my animation controller. And then just set it up like that. So that's basically it. That's an animation. Done. Right there. So we have a pick-upable object, we have an animation, we have a seat, we have a world spawner. Yeah, that's literally the rundown on the basics of world creation in Unity for VRC. Right, so I was going to tell you a little bit about this little script, this VBS. If you don't trust it, don't use it. It's made by someone on the VRC community called Yacez. This person made a little file. The entire explanation on how to install it and how to run it and everything, how to make it work, is on this website. secondstrive.com/VRChat-FBS/. Okay? Go ahead, download that script, and once again, it won't have to launch in VR on the test builds, and you can also set it. A couple of nice, neat little settings, so that will, for example, close the instance that's already open if you hit a new test build. So yeah, that's basically it. If you have any questions, don't leave them in the comment section because I'm probably not even going to look at it. Just go into World on the VRC Discord and add someone, or just don't even add someone, just ask your questions in World and the VRC Discord. So yeah, good luck with building your worlds. Can't look forward enough to you guys making content. So yeah, looking forward to that, dudes. Good luck, have fun, and have a nice day.